Hi everyone, my name is Sofia and I look after the volunteer program at the event. First of all, thank you so much for joining our volunteer team. We're really looking forward to working with you to make the event a great success. We couldn't do it without you. We have thousands of attendees expected for our event this year, and we really need every single one of you to help make this event happen. Right now on the screen, you can see exactly what I will run through during this briefing. I'll start off giving a quick overview of the volunteer program itself, including the very important process of checking in at the Volunteer Hub before your shift starts. This is to ensure that you know exactly where to go each day. I'll then run through our Volunteer Handbook PDF, which you will be asked to read through before your shift starts. I'll run through the overnight stage changes that will occur at the event. I'll then answer some frequently asked questions that you'll be asked a lot as a volunteer during the event. And last but not least, I'll run through your volunteer role and some other volunteer roles on your team with the aid of some fun animations. So to kick off things, I will show you some faces that you may already be familiar with and are part of our management team at the event. As part of the volunteer program, the management team may approach you and ask you for assistance. Please do work with them as requested. I really need to point out that it's extremely critical that you attend all the shifts that you have been assigned to. There will be roles unattended if you do not turn up for your volunteer shift, and this will not go unnoticed. Please be aware that security will be working closely with the volunteer management team to manage volunteers who don't show up for their shifts and try to access the event. We are working very hard to ensure the volunteer program is fair for everyone involved. On a daily basis, we will be removing accreditation from volunteers who have not completed their allocated shifts. As part of the volunteer program, you are free to enjoy the event in your spare time, outside of your allocated volunteer shifts. We absolutely want you to make the most of your time at the event. At all events, in all conferences, attendees, they have questions, they have queries, and they require a direction. As volunteers, you are the front line, meeting and greeting our delegates. You will also be answering questions and even sometimes complaints. Later on this briefing, I will cover how to best conduct yourself in all types of interactions. Please note though, the most important thing at all times is to remain polite, cool, and calm in all situations. The Volunteer Hub is your base camp during the event and is exclusively for volunteers' use. We want you out there and enjoying our conference in your spare time, but the Volunteer Hub is always there for you to come back to and take a breather from the headache event. The Volunteer Hub is also where you check in before your shift starts and where you check out once your shift is over and where you collect your lunch token. You are asked to check in at least 15 minutes before your shift starts. 15 minutes will give you enough time to check in at the Volunteer Hub, get ready for your shift, and make your way over from the Volunteer Hub to your pickup location. Once you have checked in at the Volunteer Hub, you are asked to walk to your volunteer pickup location. This is where you will be meeting with your volunteer manager before your shift starts. Again, I would like to remind you that we are strictly monitoring volunteers checking into their shifts at the Volunteer Hub and meeting their volunteer managers at the volunteer pickup location. As I've already mentioned, security will be working closely with the volunteer management team to manage volunteers who don't show up for their shifts and try to access the event. You can register and collect your accreditation at the volunteer briefing on Sunday, April the 30th. Your volunteer briefing will take place in the Volunteer Hub in the Ernst Memorial Convention Center in New Orleans. Please access the Volunteer Hub through the main entrance from Julius Street and walk the length of the building to Hall H. Take the escalators up to the second floor and follow directions to the Volunteer Hub. On the screen now you can see the Volunteer Hub opening times. You will receive a lunch pack when you complete your shift. It can be collected in the Volunteer Hub either after your morning shift or before your afternoon shift. You will need to check in and check out to your shift in order to receive your lunch pack each day. If you will be eating your lunch before your afternoon shift, please arrive at the Volunteer Hub 1 hour before your shift starts. This will give you enough time to check in, collect your lunch, and walk to your volunteer pickup location. Please be aware you're not permitted to eat your lunch during your volunteer shift. I'm now going to talk through the Volunteer Handbook PDF. The Volunteer Handbook PDF is going to be your one-stop shop for all event information, whether it can be related to the volunteer program or questions that attendees might direct your way. You will receive a Volunteer Handbook PDF by email from myself the week before the event starts. You will receive an information pack when you register at the volunteer briefing. You can collect an up-to-date stage schedule each morning at either the Volunteer Hub or information point at the event. Please have an update stage schedule with you at all times during your shifts, especially if you're working on the operations team. If an attendee asks you a question that you are unsure of, please feel free to use your phone to search for the answer on the handbook PDF. If you are unable to locate the answer in the PDF, I would then ask you to escalate the question to your volunteer manager. Alternatively, you can direct the attendee to the nearest information point. Please have your Volunteer Handbook PDF and your information pack accessible at all times during your volunteer shift. As your Volunteer Handbook PDF is a PDF, I ask you to refresh it as often as possible while using the event Wi-Fi. This will ensure that the information in it, including the schedule, is most up-to-date. Please do not use your phone for social reasons while you are on your shift. On the screen now you can see the stage changes for collision over the 3 days of the event. Night events will be taking place in different districts each night, and you are free to attend those Night Summit events in your spare time outside of your allocated volunteer shifts. You must not consume alcohol or smoke during your volunteer shifts. This is very important. And also, please make sure you remove your volunteer t-shirt outside of your shift hours. You can see on the screen now the times and locations for Night Summit. On the screen at the moment, you can see some key points of information regarding our pub crawl. Finally, I'm going to run through some frequently asked questions from both a volunteer's point of view and an attendee's point of view. Please make sure that you are aware of the nearest emergency exit, toilets, first aid, and medical point, and also the nearest information point. Please be aware of the registration opening times that you can see on the screen now. On the screen at the moment, you can see some important rules that we ask you to do as a volunteer. Some do's and some don'ts. Finally, one of our most important rules. Please do not ever give the answer "I don't know" to an attendee that is asking you for help. If you don't know the answer, please escalate the question to a volunteer team leader, or alternatively, you can always guide the attendee to the nearest information point. Again, I just want to say thank you very much for joining the Collision volunteer team. I'm really excited to working with you at the conference and hopefully of our future events too. Collision has some sister events which take place all over the world, and if you are interested in volunteering at any of them, you can get in touch with us. I'm now going to talk you through your volunteer role and some other volunteer roles on your team. Please pay attention to your volunteer role in particular.
Hi guys, my name's Declan. I'm Head of Investors. My team are responsible for bringing the world's leading technology investors to each of our events, along with helping them manage their time on the ground. I'll be your investor team volunteer manager right across the conference. The investor team looks after all investors that are joining us, helping them throughout the event with all logistical questions about the conference, like where stages are located, timings of talks, startup meeting schedules, and more. For all other questions from the investors, you will pass them on to a member of the investor team who will be working with you throughout. Across the gathering, each of you will be split into groups. Some of you will be helping run office hours, while some will be in the investor lounge assisting investors in answering any questions that they might have. Office hours are pre-scheduled investor and startup meetings which we run across the event. Our top investors take part in office hours to meet with some of the most exciting startups and to see if they are potentially interested in investing. You guys will be assisting with the logistics of these meetings. We will be running hundreds of investor and startup meetings, and it will be your job to help ensure that these meetings actually do run smoothly. When your shift starts, please check in at the volunteer hub and make your way over to the volunteer pickup location on your first day. I'll meet you there to brief you further on what is needed that day. That's about it for now. I can't wait to meet you on the ground.
Please check in at the volunteer hub at Venture Summit, located at Palácio de Xabregas in Lisbon, and make your way over to your volunteer pickup location. Your volunteer pickup location is where you will meet your volunteer manager, who will be reporting to during your shift.
Your volunteer manager will run through some important information that you must be aware of during your shift.
You will work very closely with your volunteer manager to make sure the event runs very smoothly.
Your volunteer manager will run through some important information that you must be aware of during your shift. This will include office hours schedule, how to locate startups, and some frequently asked questions. Attendees will approach you and ask you questions. Please refer to your map or information page to assist you with answering these questions. If you are unable to answer the question, please escalate it to your volunteer manager.